linguistics. My name is Hannah, and this is my bougie budget. Hi everyone. I decided to film a tag that's been going around, and I am pretty indiscriminate about skipping tags. I don't usually do them even if I'm tagged, unless I really want to. And there's something about this one. I shouldn't say there's something about it, because that kind of implies that I don't know what the thing is, but I do know exactly what it is. The thing that has really drawn me in about this tag, which is the "Are You a Bougie Beauty Guru" tag started by Agape Love Child, who I will link down below. That's not her channel name. Okay, so the creator of this brilliant tag is called Agape Love Girl. That's her channel name. And I've seen a bunch of my friends do it, and I've been watching them, and every time I am fascinated by the way in which this tag deals with the definition of a concept. So we have this concept in the makeup world, in the fashion world, but it gets thrown around a lot, specifically in the makeup world, this concept of being bougie. And the tag does this delicate, very intelligent thing, which is that it itself doesn't try to define bougie. It presents all of these questions which are loosely related to the concept, and then at the end it says, based on your answers to these questions, do you think that you are bougie? So it kind of leaves it up to the person doing the tag to answer that question in the light of his or her own answers, rather than saying like, oh, if you said yes to more than 50% of this, then you're bougie, like some sort of, I don't know, quiz that you would take in Cosmo when you're a teenager. Instead of doing that, it kind of honors the fact that the definition of words like this is sort of a universal consensus, but it's also kind of like an internal thing, like how you define yourself and how you define the word. So I'm really into that, and I feel like it's been provocative for me watching this tag unfold, because it makes me think about the question of bougieness and what it's related to, and the way in which the questions are framed, and the fact that they are connected to the concept of bougieness pushes further into that concept. So I'm really into that. I am going to talk, as I answer the questions, a little bit, probably a lot, about the definition of the word, the way that we kind of define words as a community, and in this case, something that really interests me, which is the relationship between taste and wealth. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. I feel like I talked in the introduction like someone who had planned out all of her answers already. I totally haven't. I've watched people do this tag a few times, and so I've been like thinking about my answers as I watch the videos, but I have not gone through and answered them to myself. I haven't written down answers or anything like that. And I also haven't even planned what I have to say about the concept of bouginess and the relationship between wealth and taste. Those are just the concepts that have been swirling around in my head, the ideas, and I'm hoping that they'll all come out in like a reasonable order and in a way that provokes dialogue. Let's start. Question 1. Would you rather buy one expensive / luxury item or buy several items with the same amount of money? We all know my answer. I would rather buy one expensive item, and I've actually been trying to train myself to do that. This reminds me to say, I meant to say in the introduction that I feel like a lot of you are going to laugh at me and be like, why are you even doing this tag, Hannah? We all know you're bougie. And I've even said it before on this channel, because I have expensive tastes. We're already getting into the concepts. We're already getting into it. I love it so much. We all know I have expensive tastes. I like nice things. I like nice packaging. I like things that are well made. I prefer quality over quantity. I say it all the time. And inherent in that phrase is the phrase that I prefer quality. I'm drawn to quality. And I like natural fibers when it comes to clothing. I like heavy packaging. I just like fancy things. And one of the ways that we say that on this platform is we say, oh yeah, I'm bougie, or she's bougie, or isn't she so bougie? So that's one of the applications of this word. It can define a preference for quality. And in this question, it's talking about quality over quantity, which is a value that I espouse. The thing that really interests me about this question applied to myself is that I can say until the cows come home that I would rather buy one expensive luxury item than a bunch of smaller items for the same price. I can say that, but I haven't really been putting my money where my mouth is until very, very recently. if I think back to the first several months of my budget, and if you haven't been following me, if for some reason this is your first time to my channel, sorry, not sorry, this is how I am. But I have a budget of $200 a month that covers all makeup, skincare, clothing, and homewares. That's like things for my home as well. So I have to decide how I'm going to spend that budget among those 4 categories. It really makes me stack my different values up against each other. And my actions, until really recently, have kind of belied my declaration that I would prefer to buy one expensive luxury thing. Because until recently, I was kind of living in fear that I would spend too much of my budget on one thing and that I wouldn't be able to buy more things. I had this instinct for quantity towards the beginning of the year. So I learned over time that my budget, my comfort with a $200 budget, my comfort for a single price, for a single item kind of settled around $30. And that was turning into like, and some things smaller, right? It was ending up playing out that I was buying like 10, 12 things a month. And I didn't want to spend too much on one thing because I didn't want to make that number smaller. This is kind of subconscious, but it was also kind of conscious. I was kind of aware that I was trying to make sure I had enough money left in my budget all the time to buy a bunch more things. Recently, I've really buckled down on changing that behavior in terms of how I partition my budget. So much so that this month I spent more than 1 month's budget. I had saved $100 from August and I spent my entire September budget, $200, and $30 of what I had saved from August, $230 on one designer blouse. Most of you know this by now. I was wearing it in my video about new makeup releases. And that is what I have always wanted to do. That's who I've always wanted to be, and it felt amazing, and it still feels amazing. And I can, with 100% confidence, say that I would rather buy one expensive luxury item instead of spending the same amount on a bunch of smaller items. I would definitely rather do that. But it's been harder than I expected for me to actually bring myself to do that, because even though in my mind I know, in my intellectual mind, in my prefrontal cortex, I know that I would rather live that way, there's this impulse for quantity that persists, and it's taken an active effort to win out over it. Question number 2. When it comes to beauty products, do you believe the phrase, "you get what you pay for"? This is such an interesting question too. I love this tag. I find it so interesting. I do believe the idiom, "you get what you pay for," but I do think that we are often confused as consumers about what we're paying for. So what I mean by that is that I think a lot of times when we buy expensive things, we're paying in large part for the name, the brand name, and the packaging. And that's what you're paying for, right? If you buy a Givenchy blush, I own a Givenchy blush. So this is my Givenchy Le Prism blush. I bought it way before my no-buy year. I mean, I think I might have purchased it in 2016. The packaging is beautiful, and it has this Givenchy logo on it, which is very special, right? It makes it feel luxurious. The product is also very good. It's very well performing. It's one of my favorite blushes. It's very lightly pigmented. So it is luxury in its styling. And I really appreciate that about this. Most of my other blushes are cheaper and way less subtle, and you have to be more careful with them, and there's a look I can get with this that I can't get with them. So when I purchased this, I spent way more money than I have ever spent on a blush. And I was paying for the packaging, the logo, the fact that it's Givenchy, and a certain aesthetic when it comes to the formulation. As long as I fully understand that I was paying for all of those things, then yes, I got what I paid for. But make no mistake, it's not just about the ingredients in this. Like, it's not just about how the exact ingredients like sit on the skin or perform on the skin, because there's so many blushes at way lower price points that also perform beautifully. So if all you're talking about is how beautifully it performs, my other favorite blush is Wet n Wild's Apricot in the Middle. That's like a $3 blush or something that I have huge pan on. I've actually used it way more than I've used this one. it performs beautifully, and this blush also performs beautifully. So I didn't get more beautiful performance commensurate with how much more I spent on this blush, because I wasn't just paying for beautiful performance. I was paying for the name, the packaging, the overall aesthetic, and the general aesthetic of the formulation. I think in most cases, and of course this is not true in all cases, because sometimes you think you're paying for all of those things. You think you're paying for like a luxury experience and it ends up really letting you down. And sometimes you spend very little money and you end up getting like amazing packaging and amazing performance and something very subtle. I mean, there are these gems and disappointments scattered throughout the makeup sphere that belie this phrase. But I think that for the most part, the question of whether you get what you pay for, it's not so much about performance, because makeup performs beautifully across all price levels. Not all makeup, but there is makeup that performs beautifully across all price levels. However, you cannot pay a very low price and get a product with a designer name on it. And if that's one of your values, which for me, it kind of is, like I can be drawn in by that. There's something that I really like about this. And when I really dive into that something, part of it is the designer name. We are just all caught up in this, in society's web of hierarchy, of fanciness. I cannot help but let the fact that it's Givenchy make me feel a little bit fancy. And I also cannot help but like that feeling. So yes, part of what I paid for and part of what I like about it has to do with that name. I think mostly I really care about performance. That's why I've worn the Wet n Wild one down to its pan, and I travel with it a lot. It's very convenient. I love that blush more, even though this has something it doesn't, which is the name attached to it and the packaging. At the end of the day, I love that blush more, but I don't feel like I didn't get what I paid for. But that's because I know what I was paying for when I bought this. And it's much, much more than the blush inside. I've been talking forever and we're only on the third question, but you guys can kind of start to see what I'm getting at, right? That bougieness, fanciness, the desire to be fancy. Is that what it is? It's tied up in money in this really interesting way. All right, question 3. What's the most expensive beauty item you've purchased with your own money? I think I know what it is, but I had to think long and hard about it. And it's something I've never, well, I might have mentioned it on my channel one time in that video about how my No by Year changed my skincare routine. I might have offhandedly mentioned when I was talking about my history with skincare that I have tried Vintner's Daughter. Did anyone else pick up on that? Do you guys remember that? Vintner's Daughter is this very high-end indie natural skincare brand, formerly just product. They only had one product. It was a regular size, maybe like an ounce bottle of oil serum, a blend of a bunch of luxurious face oils, purportedly making like the most powerful only face oil you'll ever need, like fix your skin, like incredible, perfect, dreamy, whatever, for $175. I think I'm remembering that correctly. $175 for an ounce of oil serum, basically for your face. I purchased it when it was kind of big on YouTube, when it was kind of new, it was kind of big on YouTube. Stephanie Nicole had done a whole thing about it. It was before my No by Year. It was actually before we'd even moved to LA. So it must have been late 2016, early 2017, when my shopping problem was at its height. And I'm sure it was probably late 2016 because I finished the whole bottle while we still lived in Michigan. Like I didn't bring Vintner's Daughter with me to LA. And of course, it only lasted 4 or 5 months, maybe at the most. I can't remember. Totally ridiculous. I remember my mindset when I bought it. I was like, I'm just going to treat myself. And I was kind of thinking of it as the only thing that I bought that month, which was totally not true. I'm sure I bought a bunch of other makeup and skincare, but I somehow tricked myself into thinking like that was my one big splurge. And somehow that was okay with me, even though I was just like really like a poor writer with no savings. I just had the money in my account, or I might even put it on my credit card. I don't remember. It was at a time when I had truly no perspective about budgeting, spending, and about what I could afford, and about value for money when it comes to skincare and efficacy of skincare. If I remember correctly, it was nice. I think my skin was in pretty good shape the whole time I was using it. It was very nourishing. Using it was a luxurious experience. Now, after my no-buy year and the way that my mindset has changed, I can't imagine like my skin, I take pretty good care of it. I use pretty good products. I'm not always that rigorous, but I mostly am pretty rigorous. And it's in good shape for my 34 years. Nothing that's on my face right now in terms of how good of shape my skin is in, none of this can be chalked up to Vintner's Daughter. That was like 3 years ago. I just can't imagine any serum, no matter how much it costs, no matter what's in it, making a difference in my skin that's worth $175 over the course of just a handful of months. To me right now, as someone who's not wealthy, I just can't imagine it. So that's the thing. That's the most expensive beauty product I've ever purchased. I think it is a really good product that, if money were no object, or if I had a different budget, might be worth the money, in that I do appreciate what they're doing over there at Vintner's Daughter. I do think that they are spearheading something when it comes to natural beauty and more minimal skincare and all of this stuff. But for me, now in my life, and probably forever, it's so not worth it. Like, so what was I thinking? What was I thinking? And here's the way in which you can kind of see, like, I have expensive taste. I have this instinct towards bougieness, if that's what we're calling it, right? I have this instinct towards splurging. There's a large part of me that wants to have that luxury experience. That is in my soul. Like, I want that. I want to bathe myself in Vintner's Daughter every day. It's what I want. But I can't afford to. And I no longer have the capacity to trick myself into thinking that I can afford to. So maybe that has made me less bougie over time. Or maybe I'm a bougie person trapped in the body and in the life of a normal person. Question 4, are you willing? I'm going to try to go faster from now. This is going to be like an hour-long video. It's going to be like Hannah does the bougie beauty guru tag, 55 minutes. I feel like that's what's in all of our futures. Question 4, are you willing to buy products at full price, or do you usually wait for a sale or a discount code? I have a complicated relationship with sales. If you watched my sale survival playlist, you probably cottoned on. I am not against buying things on sale. I don't think it's like evil to get something on sale if you were already planning to buy it. It's like if I were going to replace my Timeless vitamin C serum and I went to the website to buy a new bottle because I had used it up and it's a staple product for me, and they were having a 20% off sale, I would be like, sweet, like I'm psyched. I get to, and even I would go so far as to say, if I needed to replace it and I learned that they were going to have a sale in a week, I might wait until the sale and get that 20% off. I might do that. I'm obviously, if you can save money that you were going to already spend, that's good. But I am passionately opposed to the way that corporations and advertisers leverage the idea of a sale and the excitement of a sale, and leverage the thriftiness of so many of us, leverage that to trick us into spending more. I'm so against it. I see it everywhere. I see it all over YouTube. I see people saying that they weren't going to buy something, but then the price dropped a little bit, and so it felt better to them, and so they bought it. And the price drops by so little. Really, if you look at it, it's like a $2 difference, $4 difference. Really, what happened was they weren't going to buy the thing for the amount. Little sale. And then they bought the thing for the amount. It's a trick. And the effect that little bit of sale has on your actual budget, on your actual savings, on your efficacy, on your future, on your empowerment, it's negligible. Like you're not really saving yourself when you buy a thing on sale. So my passion for pushing back against the way that sales are leveraged as a tactic makes me really work to make purchases indiscriminate of whether there's a sale or not. And I've actually worked really, really hard since my no-buy year, now that my budget's back in place, to make decisions about what I buy that are unconnected to sales. And I have purchased some things on sale this year, and I've purchased some things that aren't on sale. And I like to think that everything I've purchased, I would have purchased whether there was a sale or not. So I guess that my answer to this question is that I'm willing to buy things at full price. But it's not because I'm like, you know, like wheeling and dealing and like throwing out the dollar bills. It's because I am a little bit prickly about the way that sales are used. I don't want sales to be the reason that I buy a thing. I'm not against getting something on sale, but I am against letting the sale be the reason that I buy a thing. I hope that that answers this question. Question number 5, where do you shop for beauty products the most? This is so interesting. It used to be Sephora. I was a Sephora girl through and through. I spent so much money at Sephora in 2017, the year before my no-buy year. So much money. I know the total. I've looked it up, and if you've been watching me for a long time, then you may have observed that I've never revealed that number. I was thinking about doing a video about how much I spent at Sephora in 2017, the year before my no-buy year, and what I bought. I've been really inspired by Lauren's videos about what she used to buy at Sephora. And then what I bought in 2018 as replacements during my no-buy year. Many of you know I actually bought so many replacements at Sephora during my no-buy year, my replacements only no-buy year, that I made rouge again. And then what I purchased this year, which is almost nothing. And I'm totally on track to lose my rouge status at Sephora. So I no longer shop at Sephora the most for beauty products. I think at this point, even though I spend $200 a month on beautiful things, it's so spread out between makeup, skincare, clothing, and homewares. And it's so diverse in terms of where it's bunched, like whether I buy a bunch of things or one nice thing, etc. I think that there's no one place. I don't think that there's like one place at which I've spent the majority of my beauty budget. I am still more drawn to Sephora than Ulta. Like I would rather browse Sephora than Ulta, but I almost never even browse Sephora anymore. I'll go there to look at a listing for a product if I really am intrigued by it. But I no longer hang out on the Sephora site as like one of my ways of self-soothing. I no longer like hang out, maybe once in a while a little bit I'll default to it because it was such an old habit. But it's not just the amount of money, it's the amount of time that I've spent on the Sephora website dramatically lower than it has ever been before, and way lower than it even was during my no-buy year. So I don't really know how to answer this question. It might still be Sephora if one were to add up all the numbers, but this budgeting year is such a brave new world for me in terms of how I divide my like spending money, that I no longer know where I shop for beauty products the most. Question number 6, how often do you get your nails and or hair done? Hair, twice a year. I just get it cut when it's getting so raggedy that it's truly unsustainable and unhealthy. Like when I feel like the split ends are starting to travel up at a rapid rate of speed, then I'll go get them cut off. And I've even failed woefully to schedule any bang trimming appointments. Like I kind of messed up my bangs by trimming them myself a bunch of times after the last haircut I had. And then when I went in, I told my stylist, I was like, I promise I'll make appointments. I'll come in for a bang trim so you won't have to fix them again. And then I haven't. And I've just gotten fed up and trimmed them myself twice since then. So hopefully I'm not messing it up too badly. I've been very, very careful, much more careful than I used to be. I'm trying to just trim the middle a little bit to get it out of my eyes. So hair, I mean, if we're going by like the standard definition of like a bougie person who like goes to the salon all the time and gets the cut and the color and the blowout, like I don't even own a blow dryer. I never heat style my hair anymore. I have a curling iron that I used to use from time to time. I haven't used it in like a year, maybe one time over the past year. I'm just so low maintenance when it comes to my hair. Wash once a week, scrunch up, let it go. I mean, I like the look that I get from it. I'm doing it on purpose. You know, I'm doing it for style, but I'm not like a hair salon. I'm not a denizen of the hair salon. Nails, I have recently started having done, and I've really, really enjoyed it. But it kind of goes in phases. Like I think that there was a period of maybe 6 or 7 months in 2016 and 17 when I got gel manicures constantly. Like I got them, I chain got gel manicures, and I loved having my nails done. I loved having them nice and sturdy with the gel polish. And then I noticed my nails underneath were getting kind of weak, and I got the gel removed, and then I went like more than a year and a half without, not only without getting my nails done at a salon, but without painting them myself, because I don't own any nail polish at home. I don't like do my nails. I'm either completely au naturel, or I'm getting like a full-on like gel, and this is gel overlay, like the stuff you use to create gel extensions. It's just that my real nails are this long underneath the gel overlay. This is like a full-on gel overlay salon manicure, and this is like the fourth one I've had over the past 6 or 7 months. So right now I'm going in and having my nails done about once a month, maybe a little bit less. And so I'm like all on board the crazy nails train right now. But at some point I'll get off of it, and I'll be off of it for a while too. I don't know what to tell you about that. I'm on and off bougie when it comes to my nails. Okay, question number 8. Which makeup brush brand is your favorite? This is a situation in which, if we are judging bougieness from brushes, being a beauty guru has made me brush bougie, because until very recently I had Wet n Wild brushes and Morphe brushes and maybe 1 or 2 ColourPop brushes and maybe a couple Real Techniques brushes, but that was it. I had had this motley collection of all synthetic, no, some of my Morphe brushes are natural hair, but all cheap brushes that I had gotten together, and I was very much about brushes not making that much of a difference. I was like, how could it be better? I was very down and dirty in drugstore when it came to my brushes. Then I received PR from Refer, and those are exquisitely made natural hair brushes that are perfectly designed, and they're relatively expensive. I mean, they're not like untenably expensive, you know what I mean? They're not like luxury prices, but they are, they're really nice brushes. They are probably the brushes of a bougie person. And I decluttered my brushes recently, and I got rid of a lot of my old brushes, because now that I have these ones that I was given from Refer, I feel like I never want to reach for anything else. And I did say in my video, my PR video about PR that I would buy myself, that there are a couple of those Refer brushes that if they were taken away from me, I would buy them with my own money. I would gladly shell out the coin for those brushes. That's how much I love them. That's how much they've converted me to the bougie brush life. So I don't know what to tell you. It's like one of these situations in which I didn't want something fancier or more expensive, and I kind of feel like it's because I didn't know any better. But the way that they pick up pigment and manipulate pigment, it's just, the ease of use is just incredible. It's interesting because I think that for me with Refer, there's no name. It's not about the name. So like in this situation where it's like you're getting what you pay for, and I was talking about how part of what you pay for is the brand name and the feeling of using something fancy. I don't feel like that about Refer at all. I feel like with those brushes, you get what you pay for purely in terms of efficacy. They are beautiful, but it's like ease of use, efficacy, like the way that how easy they are to use and how well they work. For me, they genuinely perform better than my old brushes. And that has made such an impact on my makeup life. And I get so much enjoyment out of doing my makeup that would be worth paying for me. So I feel like with Refer, if I had to replace those brushes and spend my money on them, I would be getting what I paid for, but it would be pretty one-dimensional. It would be pretty straightforward what I was paying for, and I would be getting that thing. So it's really interesting because it's like you're paying for different things in different cases. And when it comes to brushes, it's definitely like a matter of how they perform for me. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I don't know if that offsets the bouginess of my answer. Like if I'm saying this is my favorite brush brand and it's just because they perform so beautifully, and it has nothing to do with like the glamour or the name or the handles being solid gold or something, like it doesn't have anything to do with that. It just has to do with the fact that I like using them. Is that still a bougie answer because it's a slightly pricier brush brand? I don't know because that question is only about the definition of the word. Linguistics. All right, question 9, high-end or drugstore mascara? Oof, this is a hard question for me because I am unwilling to spend at this point high-end prices on mascara, but there's something in me that is, it's not that there's something in me. My experience has been that it's much, much harder to find a mascara that performs in the way that I prefer at drugstore prices. But I haven't really tried all of the iconic drugstore mascaras. I haven't yet tried the Essence one. The Essence Lash Princess, that's really on my list, especially if there's a volumizing one, because that's kind of what I'm after with lashes. I do like length, but I really am after volume. I really want volume built from the roots. So I am going to try that one at some point. This goes back to my thing about short-term staples versus long-term staples, which I talked about in my video, How I Know About Year Changed My Makeup Routine. So mascara is a short-term staple, just is. You use it up. For me, like 3 months, I know that's supposed to be how long you use it, but also I usually only have 1 or 2 mascaras going at a time, so it ends up drying out. Like I end up going through a mascara that quickly, and it just does not make sense to repurchase a thing at a price point of like $30, a luxury mascara or a high-end mascara, if you're going to be buying it that many times a year. That's so much money for mascara. But I've sort of been stressed out lately because I've been running out of the Monsieur Big that I got from Octoly about what I was going to do. I would have probably planned to try the Essence one and just continue to search for a drugstore mascara that performs on that level when it comes to volume. However, I have this. I just started using this LA Girl Volumatic full-on volumizing lash lifting mascara that was given to me at BeautyCon, and I love it. I love it. If this were in like a Givenchy tube, I would believe it. So when it comes to how I feel about mascara, what I believe about it, I believe that there's just as good of mascara to be found at the drugstore. I don't feel prejudice in favor of high-end mascara. And perhaps this is indicating that what's happening is that I have bougie tastes, and I used to be acting like a bougie person. And now, since my Know by Year, I figured out that even if I have bougie tastes, I can't afford to act on them. So I'm like moving away from bouginess in certain ways. Maybe that's my answer. Maybe that's what's going on. I think that what I'm realizing is that I'm not prejudiced in favor of high-end mascaras. I just have spent more time with them, so I know more about them. I've tried more of them. I know which ones work for me. And I would choose to buy drugstore mascara, but I need to try some more of them to find out which ones are going to be my go-tos in the coming years. Question 10. Think of your favorite makeup brand. Is it drugstore, high-end, luxury, or indie? I don't know if I have a favorite makeup brand that I can say like right out the gate, that's my favorite one. But it's definitely not drugstore because I haven't tried as many, like I was saying about the mascara, I just haven't tried as many drugstore products as I have high-end luxury indie. So there's not a drugstore brand that's my favorite. The brands, let's not put so much pressure on myself to think of one. If I think of brands that I have like an affinity for, that I'm kind of a sucker for, Natasha Denona, Kevyn Aucoin, used to be NARS, although they've lost me a little bit lately. And then recently some indie brands. So Clionadh is like so on my radar, truly extraordinary. Some of my favorite, if not my very favorite eyeshadows are my Clionadh shadows from the Stained Glass collection. My favorite eyeshadows for years in my collection have been my JD Glow ones. So I talk about my favorite individual pieces of makeup as being from these indie brands, and some from, I guess you would say, high-end brands. I kind of think of the big design houses like Givenchy and Marc Jacobs as being the luxury brands, like the ones where it's an offshoot of like an actual, or like Chanel, Dior, the one where it's like an actual fashion house that also has a makeup line. I think of those as being the luxury makeup brands. Whereas Natasha Denona, even though the prices are luxury, I think, I guess she's luxury, but to me there's like luxuries like Dior. And then I think of Natasha Denona as being like a makeup brand, so I kind of think of her as high-end. That might be incorrect. I don't know really where these divisions are drawn, whether it has to do with price or something else. But to me, it's kind of like some indie and some high-end are where my preferences lie in terms of my favorite makeup brands. All right, question 11 and the last. Considering your answers to these questions, do you think you're bougie? I have bougie tastes. We all know it, right? And I kind of foregrounded this. I kind of said this at the beginning. I love beautiful things, but I get uncomfortable when I have too many of them, when I'm surrounded too much by them. I also have a preference for ease of use. I don't like things to be too complicated. I like things to be kind of sleek and effortless. That's part of why I like my Wet n Wild blush so much, is because it's depotted. So it's a single, it fits easily into palettes. I like taking it with me when I travel. I think maybe if that Wet n Wild blush were in its original compact with the plastic, I wouldn't like it nearly so much. So I have preferences. I have these very strong aesthetic preferences. I like things to be just so, and I like there to be not too many of them. I really like that feeling of focusing on a few well-chosen quality things. And I do think that that quality in me is something that is often associated with bougieness, or the phrase bougie. However, I'm the child of hippies. I'm kind of down to earth. I like wearing linen. I'm a little bit grungy around the edges. I like a grungy look. I like looking like my makeup was like put in with a sooty eye. There's something kind of like I guess kind of rocky, like a rocky terrain, but also rocky like a rock club or like a rock music. I mean, like my aesthetic is not really clean. Like I don't really take care of my cuticles. You know what I mean? I don't maintain myself like a kept woman. And I tend to think of bougie as having these implications of wealth, like of having gotten to a level of wealth wherein you can spend like a whole lot of money on being completely decked out head to toe in like designer gear, and also being like trimmed and dyed and manicured to within an inch of your life. And I'm very much not that. So the reason that I'm so interested in this tag is because my own answers to it and my own way of seeing myself, and I'm so curious about what you guys think about yourselves in light of these questions, and even about what you've seen of me, which is only a slice of my life, right? You can't see everything that I am here on YouTube. And I would actually argue that I probably present a bougier self on this platform than what you would actually see if you met me in real life. I think that that's probably true. Maybe if you've seen my vlog, you'll have a sense of whether or not that's true, my recent vlog. But my own answers to the question, my own way of seeing these questions, splits the word or the concept of bouginess between taste and wealth. Because I think that high-end taste, or liking nice things, is part of what bouginess means to us as a community. And being rich enough to spend a bunch of money on all the nice things and all the fancy and the most expensive things is another part of what bouginess means to us as a community. And I'm one, but not the other. And in order to honor that first thing, that the side of myself that really loves beautiful things and is satisfied in a way by having really nice things, in order to honor that, given the fact that I'm not wealthy enough to buy a bunch of beautiful designer things, that's what's led me to this value of quality over quantity, this place of quality over quantity, because I want to be able to be bougie in terms of the few things I have, but without going into debt, without spending unwisely, and without pretending that I'm richer than I am, to you or to myself, because I was doing that for a long time, and that was not it. That was not the way to live. So I've rescued myself from that, and I've ended up in this place of being like half bougie. I'm bougie. My tastes are bougie, but my wallet is not. I think I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think, you guys. I'm so curious about the conversation that this tag has been generating, and I'm curious about the way that you will react to the way that I have handled it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.